Welcome back. This is episode 4 of the Clock Project, and today we're going to actually get into the operations of machining the features on the clock front. So let's hop right into it. In the previous videos, we already handled how to do the setup. Go back and look at episode 2 if you want to learn about the setup. We also downloaded the tool library for the clock. That was in episode 3 if you need to know how to do those. Today's video is going to talk about how we drill the center hole, pocket out the square for the motor, cut the flat on the bottom, and drill and tap the holes around the center. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing we're going to do in this operation is we're actually going to drill this center hole. We need to do that because years of doing this, I've learned if you drill it second after you've created this pocket, it will actually crack. So we want to use the full thickness of the material to support the drill going through. So to do a drilling operation, we are going to click right here on drill. And our very first thing we have to do is pick the tool. Now this drill bit is a 5/16 drill bit. And if I go ahead and go to clock library, and then we are going to hop into the clock library by clicking here. And here are all our tool operations. Now we only have 6 tools to choose from, and you can see there's a number 7 drill bit and there's a 5/16 drill bit. But if we had a large library, we could actually use filters here on the right to limit ourselves to only the drills, and that would limit us down to the 3 drilling drill bits. And for this center hole, we are actually going to use the 5/16 drill bit, tool number 9. So we go ahead and hit select. Notice it's acrylic plastic at 4,000 RPMs. If there were more listed here, we'd have to make sure we choose the correct material that we are cutting, but we only have acrylic for this one. So second tab, we do not need to work with because we're not doing multi-axis. The third tab is geometry. So we need to select the hole we want to drill. So I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to grab that hole. So it now knows where I want to do the hole. I don't need to click any of these other icons for this one hole we're drilling. Heights, now this does matter because right now it is going to start drilling at the top of the hole, which is already way down inside the material. We want it to start drilling at the top of the stock. So we are going to switch from top of hole to top of stock. And you can notice that this gets longer. And then bottom of hole, and then we are going to hit drill through. Tip through. The drill tip is actually angled like a V, and so it'll stop at the bottom of the tip. We want to actually that whole V to go all the way through, so that's what drill tip through the bottom will do. So if we look here on the side, you can see that the drill is coming all the way down through the bottom. And then we're going to go ahead and go over to cycle. We're going to wrap it in, wrap it out. We're not drilling that deep. And then linking parameters, we don't need to adjust at all. So we're going to go ahead and click OK. And we're going to see that it's going to take a second to process. It's processing right here. And once it's processed, we can go ahead and it is. Now that we're done, we can go ahead and hit simulate. We're going to hit play, and we're going to see the drill bit come over. It's going to come down. It's going to drill the hole, and it's going to come back up. So we can exit the simulation, and we've now done our first command, which is drilling. Our second command is we are going to remove all the material from this square. And there are 2 things we have to understand. We are going to try to remove the material as fast as possible with no care for how the finished bottom looks or the sides. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove everything but 20 thousandths on the floor and 20 thousandths on the sides, and then we're going to come back and clean both those operations up. So adaptive clearing, let me close this so you can see the titles. This is adaptive clearing. This is what is used to remove a large amount of material. So we go ahead and click on that. We're going to select our tool just like we did before. This time we are going to use an end mill, and specifically tool number 2, the 3/8 end mill. In acrylic plastic, and we're going to hit select. We do not need to work with multi-axis. We're going to go to geometry, and we're going to select this ring at the bottom of our pocket, and it's going to highlight everything in blue, meaning it's going to cut everything out. We're going to go here, We don't need to change any heights. We told it how deep by selecting the ring at the bottom. Passes, we are not going to change anything. We're going to leave the material to be left on the walls and the floor at 20 thousandths and our optimal load at 15. And under linking parameters, we don't need to change anything. So we're going to go ahead and click OK. And it's going to take a moment to think. And there is the process. It's going to spiral in to the bottom and then start moving its way out, cutting away all the material, but leaving a little bit on the bottom and a little bit on the walls. Now that we have the material out quickly, we're going to go back and we're going to clean up the bottom and clean up the walls to the exact size we want. And to do that, we are going to use a pocket, specifically a 2D pocket. So we're going to click on 2D. So in the window, you notice that the number tool, the 3/8 flat mill, was automatically populated in here. It always defaults to the last tool we used for a similar operation. So before we started with the drill and then went to an end mill, you can't adaptive clear with the drill, so we had to select a tool. But now it will stay on this 3/8 end mill until we do something that requires us to not use the 3/8 end mill. So we don't need to adjust this. We don't need multi-axis, so we're going to skip over to geometry. We're going to select the exact same geometry as before. And then we're going to move on to heights. Once again, we're changing none of the heights because the geometry we selected is already on the bottom where we want the floor of our pocket to be. Under passes, there's nothing to do here other than to check turn off stock to leave. We did that. We wanted stock to leave in the adaptive clearing. Now we want to cut to the finished size. So we're going to click there. And then the only other thing we're going to change is on this ramping. We do not need to run it at a degree of 2. We already cut all the material out, so we can come down at a much faster rate. So what we're going to do is we're going to change this to a degree of 10. And the spiral in will be much more aggressive, which is fine because the material has already been removed. And if we just slide this up a bit, we can go ahead and hit OK. And you're going to notice that red spiral is a much higher helix, and it's going to cut to the final size. So now that we have 3 operations set, we're going to simulate again. This time we're going to click on the very top. That will allow us to select everything. We're going to hit simulate again. Here it is. I've turned the machine off. If I moved it to here and zoomed out a little bit, I can turn the machine back on and see it. And we're going to go ahead and hit play. And if I zoom out a little bit, it's going to start with the drilling operation. And then it's going to switch tools to the 3/8 end mill, and it's going to spiral in, and it's going to open up the pocket, leaving material on both the floor and on each wall, 20 thousandths to be specific. And then it's going to switch, and it's going to cut the 20 thousandths off the bottom and finish the walls exactly to size. And then we're going to exit the simulation because we're not quite done. We still need to do 3 more things. Let's go ahead and click somewhere else to get rid of the machine. We need to cut this flat on the bottom, and then we need to drill these holes and then tap these holes. So we're going to start with the flat on the bottom. This is also going to be done with the 3/8 end mill. So let's go ahead and go to contour. Contour means we're going to use the side of the cutter to cut along a flat like this. It is automatically defaulted back to the 3/8 end mill, so we don't need to change that. Multi-tool we skip. Geometry is our next step. We are going to click on this ring on the bottom. Now, we do not want to go all the way around like it has it right now. That means it would cut through our jaws and our piece would become loose. All we want to do is cut this single line. And to do that, we are actually going to double click on closed chain number 1. And we get this chain box. We are going to switch from closed chain to open chain, and that is going to select only one line. Now this red arrow is very important. It should be on the outside because it basically means the cutter is going to cut on that side of the line. If you click it, it switches to the inside. It'll cut on that side of the line, which is not what we want. So I'm going to click it again, move it back to where we want. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to my 3rd tab. Now on this tab, we do have one adjustment to make. We have selected the bottom edge of this plastic. We want to actually move the cutter at the very bottom of the cutter is going to run along that edge. It can leave a little bit material behind if our settings are not perfectly correct. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to tell the cutter to actually go down below that edge by about 50 thousandths so that we're using the side of the cutter and we make sure we get a nice clean edge. So under offsets here, we are going to select -0.05 and you're going to click on to the next tab, which there are no adjustments, and then on to the last tab, which there are no adjustments, and I'm going to click OK. And if we kind of come up, you're going to see that the blue line is below the side of our part. And if we look from above, we can see our lead in to cut that flat and our lead out. We're now down to 2 more steps. We got to drill this hole and then these 3 holes, and we also need to tap these 3 holes. So let's move on. We're going to do drilling. And this time we do need to change the tool because we're going to be drilling with a number 25, I believe, drill bit. So we're going to go back to our tool library for clock. And we are looking for the number 25 drill bit, the 1024. So this is the pilot hole that you need so that you can then tap to a 1024. So we're going to click on the number 25 drill bit. It's also in acrylic, so we're fine there. And we're going to select OK. Skipping the multi-tabs, we're going to go to geometry, and we're going to pick one of the holes. Now, we have 3 holes to do. We can select all 3. That's not a big deal. But we can also hit select same diameters. And if we click on that, it will automatically select every hole that is that diameter. It becomes much more important when you have like a part that has like 50 holes, because you have to click 50 times. This will allow me to select each one on its own. Moving over to heights, we are not going to adjust anything other than the top of the hole. We're going to go to the top of the stock. And then under rapids and these things, none of these need to be changed, so we just go ahead and click OK. And you're going to see that it runs around and it drills those 3 holes. Our last step is we need to tap these 3 holes, so we have to make the spiral for the screws to screw into with a tap. So this is fundamentally a drilling operation, so we're going to click drill. We're going to switch to the tap. There is only one tap in our tool library, which is the number 7 1024 tap. It runs at 500 RPMs because it has to match speed and up and down movements, and we want to keep it relatively slow so that those movements aren't too rapid. So we go ahead and hit select. And then we're going to come over to multi-axis. We're not doing geometry. We're going to select the same set of holes using the same method. Select all the same diameters. Now, because we've selected that it's a tapping hole, it knows that it's a tap, so we'll show that in the next tab. So for tapping, we have to be aware these are called blind holes where the tap is going in and there's a bottom. Taps are extremely fragile, and if they hit bottom, they can break very, very easily. Also, if you're cutting a chip and a little piece of plastic comes off, falls down to the bottom, and then the tap tries to crush that, it can also break. So we're going to leave a small area at the bottom, about 30 thousandths, so that if any chip falls in there, we don't have any broken taps. So what we're going to do here is we are going to offset from the bottom 30 thousandths, and you saw it move. I'll show that again, 0, and then if I put in a 3, it comes up just a hair. That leaves us a little bit of space. Now on to the next tab. So cycle, notice it says tapping. Because we selected a tapping tool, it automatically knew that we were going to want to be doing a tapping operation. If for some reason this isn't tapping, we either need to look into the fact that the tool is not set as a tapping tool, or you can override it to say it is tapping. And then lastly, linking. There is nothing in the linking parameters, and we can click OK. And there is our tapping operation. Now, if we go back over to this list, these are all our operations to complete the clock front. If we click on the top and then move around, zoom out, we can simulate the whole thing from start to finish. We can go ahead and hit play, and it's going to go ahead. I'm going to speed it up just a hair. It's going to go through all the operations to show us what we've programmed. Now, while it's doing this, there it goes. Now it's doing the 3 drilled holes. Now it's doing the 3 tapped holes, and the part is done. We'd be now confident to run these through the simulators in the front of the classroom. But before we do that, we have to do what's called posting. Posting is where we tell it what machine we're using, and we actually have it write the G&M code. So basically converting this from Fusion to G code. So we're going to click on the G1, G2, which is our post. This should be your default setting. If it's not, please get my attention and I'll come and help you. The post processor should be the same thing. Our code should automatically generate. Our comment should already generate with our last name. The last thing you need to be aware of is this will save it to some deep, dark place in the computer that is hard to find. So I highly recommend you click on this and switch it to the downloads. Ultimately, you're going to be moving this onto a flash drive and then moving it up into the front of the classroom. So the best place to go is downloads because it's easily findable. That's a word. And then the rest of this is just fine. We do have to make one change here on the post processor. You need to make sure you check on the use GO, or it's actually use G0 box right here. If you don't do that, we're going to have a problem when we get to the machine. But you have to make sure this post processor outputs G00s, not high feed rates. Our last step is to hit post. And then it's going to write the code. I'm going to click on this view NC to show you the code. I normally recommend you'll get a window that will pop up that says, do you want to download this reader? I normally just select a notepad. It's a faster way to get it up. But here is the code that's generated, and it'll tell us the machine, tells us the project with our name, and then it does drilling, adaptive clearing, and if you kept scrolling down, you'll see all the other operations. Now, for the clock back, op1, it's the exact same procedure. You don't do any of the drilling or tapping commands. You do everything else the same way. I will have another video that shows how to do op2 of the back in episode 5. Thanks for watching. Hit like and subscribe and ring that bell, and I'll catch you in the next one.